Hey gang, so here we are on Mirai, MISK, and a Consolidated Outlands Day. Not to bury the lead too much, but Consolidated Outlands Day has the Mustang Delta, and that's it. So no chance to get the Pioneer that I've seen yet. It might change later in the day. Let's get into it. Of course, they dropped one new ship on us. There is a sneak peek reveal in here. And we have a resale on the TAC, which went up in Siccon. So let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, so right off the bat, we're here in Marai Day. So here's Marai, the Marai Guardian MX. So this is one that we were thinking would be a missile boat. Well, initially I was thinking it might be a racer, but the fact they're dropping it on Invictus sort of let me know that, hey, yeah, probably a missile boat. There were some theories that there's going to be like size 9 torpedoes on this thing, and I couldn't see that from the silhouette, but wasn't a completely ridiculous idea. Turns out that instead it has 24 size 2 missiles. So let's get into this thing. Well, first of all, I'll kind of show you, of course, you can get the Furies. There aren't a whole lot of ships in the Marai lineup, but they're growing kind of fast. The Fury MX, so keep in mind that the MX is the missile version. All it has is missiles, and it has this blast shield that drops down. Remember that. That's important because the MX up here has one of those too. You got the Guardian, which just has 2 size 5s, just quite a lot of firepower. The MX, of course, which has 4, I believe, size 3s. We'll look at that in a second, and 24 missiles. And then we've got the QI, which has, I believe it's 2 size 4s, but it's also got the snare. So it's an interdictor. And then, of course, you got some of the most useful bikes in the game and the Pulse. They do explode very easily, so careful driving them around places like Daymar with lots of rocks, or even Hurston or something like that. They tap a rock or look at a rock funny, they will blow up. Razor X, these are the 2 military versions of the MX. This is the stealth fighter version, which it's not much of a fighter, but it is very fast, which can make it, it's very small, which can make it very hard to hit in combat, which makes it a more effective combat ship than it should be. Don't expect that to last too much longer after they put in armor, which it sounds like we might be getting the first iterations of with the next patch, which of course I'll be talking about more about that probably the next time they kind of give us an update on it, which should be coming in the next week or so. The Fury, really tiny ship, does not have a jump drive, so bear that in mind. This thing should always be transported around in other ships. The advantages, it's very small. It can fit in most other ships. They're like Freelancer sized or larger. Hits kind of hard for a tiny ship. Can't take much of a hit, but damn. And then, of course, we're back in the loop. So just down here, nothing really special down here. Weirdly, they aren't selling paints this year, which is kind of sad for me because I actually kind of like some of the paints. A couple things I wanted to address before we get into the Guardian is the Idris K. Knight and I went out, well, and the whole Carnival went out in his Idris and flew around. He bought it back in 2016, I think. That main laser of the Idris K can fire for 30 seconds. So that is, that's a lot of firepower. One thing I wanted to address about the drama, about them selling the ship components, they have walked that back since last time. My take on those kinds of things when CIG starts doing that sort of thing is this community can be very dramatic. I actually agree with the community on this one. That's not something that should be sold. But one thing CIG has taken away from this, and you can decide for yourself whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, is with the community being so reactive, CIG will look at the numbers rather than what people are saying. So if everybody is saying, oh God, nobody buy this, this is the worst thing ever, everybody boycott CIG, but their sales numbers for those items are through the roof, they will keep selling those things because they know that even though people are quote unquote upset and echoing all of those things, on the sly, they're buying it. So my advice is don't buy them. Like if CIG sees that there are no sales numbers on those things, they're not going to keep selling them. So that is the trick. As a former finance person, don't buy them. They won't keep doing it. If people buy them, they're going to keep doing it. So there you go. Anything else is just wind. Now let's get into the fun stuff. So the Guardian and MX. So here it is. Again, deadly in purpose, quad size 4 guns. That is significant. So these are rhinos, or rhino size 4s or size 5s. I think it's Galadrians or size 4s. So it's got those. That's a lot of firepower. I actually kind of prefer that to the standard Guardian, which has the 2 size 5s. This strikes me as a bit more useful. Plus, you got a little bit more redundancy. If like one of these wings gets taken out, you still got 3 more size 4 guns. So yeah, serious firepower. And then you got 12-pack missile rack on either wing, so 24 size 2 missiles, which is significant. I would probably put a bunch of rattlers in there because spam. All in all, very cool looking ship. I will go through the paints that this thing comes with. So this is the standard blackout, pretty cool. That'd probably be the one that I go with. Peninsula, burnout. It's kind of a racer version, which I don't think you would race in this, but you could. And then this is the one, the Harlequin, that you can get with the concierge level. So you can get that. 270 new money, a little steep, but if you're upgrading from another one of the fighters, might not be too bad. I would CCU from another fighter to this. That's kind of my general recommendation on buying new ships, is generally at the point I'm at in the game, if I don't feel comfortable CCUing something else that I have in my fleet for a new ship, it's probably just worth getting in game instead. This is starting to get into, I wouldn't say serious money. I mean, this is my hobby money, but still kind of a cool ship. This one's useful. I might upgrade my regular Guardian to this. There doesn't really seem to be a big downside. Sovereign paint, that's the one that we got with the original Guardian with the concierge paint. So they are selling paints for the Guardian, but not any of their other ships, which is what they used to do. The thing that I am curious about is, does it still have the internal? Because it was saying they stripped out all of the extras. Doesn't really look like we got a picture of the interior, so that might be something that I'll have to check out. I remember walking through this when it was on the floor of Invictus, and it looked like it had the standard interior. But anyway, there you go. There's the Guardian. So then we go on and we look at MISK. So of course, Starlancer attack, we'll look at in a second here. This is one of the few sales where you can actually get the Freelancer MISS, which again isn't as useful as it used to be, but it always depends on the patch on whether missiles are overpowered or underpowered. I think they're underpowered this patch, but don't quote me on that. I haven't been doing any PvP ship fights in them lately. But thing carries a ton of missiles. The Freelancer's kind of always has a soft spot in my heart. This was one of the first ships. I started with a Mustang Beta, or a Mustang, and immediately upgrade it to a Mustang Beta for my first game package flying around the verse ship. And my first upgrade was to a Freelancer, a regular Freelancer. So the Freelancers always have a soft spot in my heart. The Reliant series, the Tana is actually kind of cool. It's way too big for its silhouette. If you want to go look on Info Runners for the chat that Execute and I did on the Reliant, because I strongly agree with the points that we came up with, that is that its silhouette is too big for how strong it is or isn't. Starfare Gemini. This is the refueler. It has a missile rack up front instead of a gas thing. The Starlancer internals are a mess. This is a ship that badly needs like a hard update, but they don't quite have the time to do it right now. And for right now, I have refueled people. It works in that purpose, but it's so big and so slow that it's not really useful. Plus, people aren't running out of fuel enough to really make it useful. So until they dial that in, here we go. The Starlancer Max. Now, I was going to say that this is one of my current favorite ships to fly around, but I think I might be switching over to the TAC. I might be upgrading my Max to a TAC. And the main reason would be because the TAC is kind of a mini Carrack. It doesn't have the big living quarters, but this also isn't real life. I don't think my Toon needs a giant room to hang out in when I'm not logged into the game. Call me mean. A few of the comments that I've seen for people that have been test flying this thing are that it's really slow and these guns have a bad arc of fire. These guns, the big ones on the bottom, a lot like the A2, are made to engage the ground. They're not made for ship-to-ship combat. That would be these two guns up here are to defend the ship against other ships. These two guns down here, you can use them on people who are dumb enough to stay on your sides. But this thing isn't a dogfighter. It's basically a glorified dropship. And we'll get to that with the ad because the ad kind of makes that clear. Otherwise, special deal on the Freelancer MISC, and that's it for that. Let's go ahead and look at the TAC because there is something very cool here. So, I mean, here you can see it. This is how the TAC should be used. Does come with med beds, and let's see if they show it coming in here. There you go. So you can sort of see the Fury is coming in and landing on top. Apparently you can fit 2 Furies, but little else. So the hangar isn't super useful, but it has a hangar, which is useful in and of itself. And maybe we get another shuttle or something that'll fit in there. I think even an MPUV would be too big to fit in there. But let's go ahead and watch this video really quick because there is something that I want to show. So real quick, point number 1 on this. This is really what the Starlancer TAC is made for, is clearing ground. I would assume this thing will work pretty well. And I said this back when they concepted this thing back in November was IE? Was it IE? I don't know. I don't remember. But that this thing would pair very well with a Starlancer BLD, because you could come down and clear a landing zone, kind of put in initial building apparatus or supplies or something with its cargo bay, but it could basically clear an area of hostiles, and then the BLD could land and start putting up defenses and claiming that area. But let's keep going because there is one more thing kind of hidden in here. One thing I want to show right here, let's back this up just a hair. There are some new animations in here. Now, I like to point these out every once in a while because we don't have them in game yet, but this indicates that the animations do exist. Now, were they just made for this trailer? I don't know, but let's watch right there. Did you see that flip? So there's a combat takedown. Watch that person right there. Right there. she flips him over, throws him on the ground, and disables him.
Bring in the rain.
Bandits approaching. Engaging. Target locked. Fox 3. Inbound to LZ.
Here we go. Yeah. So the Wicklow ones are that isn't fake. It's a real thing. It does look like they have a backpack on there. I would assume that is for ammunition and not jumping. You do see them walking a little bit later. Again, as I and other content creators have pointed out, these are not Titan suits, I don't think. These are upgunned version of the Atlas chassis. So these are not Titan suits. Consider this more of a Toyota Tacoma with an RPK on it, one of those big light machine guns that the Russians use that you always see tooling around Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever else. I consider that more of this. This is more just somebody said, hey, you know, we could slap armor on this thing and a couple guns. And here you go.
Wheels down. Get those troops on board.
So there you go. You can see it walking in the background.
Last man aboard. Wrap secure. Attack.
This is the other thing, of course, it comes with a med bay. So, yeah, that makes it immediately useful. Like I said, this is a mini Carrack for, I would still say, probably a crew of 3 to 4 people. If you have a group of 3 to 4 people, whereas I think the Carrack is like 5 to 6, this ship is probably ideal for doing most things in the game, short of like bulk cargo running. This obviously won't do that well.
26 aboard.
Copy that. Welcome back, pilot.
So there you go, guys. MISK, Marai, and let's check out Consolidated Outlands Day. So here's Consolidated Outlands. You have access to the Mustang Delta, and that is it. Gang, speaking of that is it for me. Thanks for tuning in. Catch me next time.